Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to do something a little bit different. This is going to be my first ever Indian beer review on the channel for you. So for this one we are going to go to Bangalore in India and have a look at Untitled Breweries Group. We're having a taste of their Maharaja Premium Indian Pilsner today. This one obviously is a lager beer, or a Pilsner if you want to say that. It comes in at 4.9% and it should be quite interesting. I got this beer at Namaste Indian restaurant in Hagurasaki in Osaka, just next to the airport actually. And I'd never seen this beer before, so I asked them if I could take a bottle away and do a review of it on the channel. And yeah, it should be quite nice. Maharaja, of course, in Sanskrit, it's a reference to the great leader or the great king and things like that, and hence why he's on the label there. But it should be quite nice. This company also produced the Kingfisher beers. I've seen Kingfisher before. We also get Cobra back at home in Scotland, but I'd never seen this beer. So I thought, yeah, let's give it a review on the channel. So I hope you guys in India enjoy my first Indian beer review, and hopefully there can be many more to come. I think India's starting to pick up and produce lots of different beers these days. But anyway, as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you do want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my future reviews that hopefully I can do from Untitled Breweries Group. As I say, I'll maybe do a Kingfisher review sometime soon. There's all the usual social media. Make sure you check that out. If you want to see more beer reviews, do subscribe to the channel. And as always, go and check out some of the other beer tubers around YouTube. And to those of you in India, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers you guys would like to see me review. I would like to do more Indian reviews. It's just you only get a couple of beers actually in Sweden and in Scotland from India. So do let me know the other ones you guys would like me to see review. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Untitled Breweries Group. So Untitled Breweries Group, as I mentioned to you, are based in Bangalore in India. And the company, the whole big company, produces many different things. They've got a beverage division, they have interests in aviation, they produce electronics, fertilizers. They were also behind the Force India Formula 1 team as well. They also had some interest in that. But the company was founded in 1857 by Thomas Leishman, who was actually Scottish, and they learned much of their lessons in beer brewing from a company called British Breweries, who were based in southern India. But the brewery appointed its first director, Vital Malia, in 1947. He was only 22 when he was appointed, but he went on to become the chairman of the company the following year, and it was under him that this company began to grow very, very big. But before India's independence, the company was known for producing the beer for the British troops, which was transported in barrels called hogshead barrels. And the company produces many well-known brands these days, the best known of which, as I mentioned to you, is the Kingfisher beer. So the company expanded hugely during the 1950s and 60s, and they expanded into wines and spirits with the addition of McDowell as one of the group's subsidiary companies. The company logo is the Pegasus, which first appeared in the 1940s, and this was chosen because it's the Hellenic horse, which is associated with beer and nectar due in Greek mythology. But the horse actually carried a beer between its legs because brewing at that time was the kind of core operation of the company. So they chose the Pegasus and gave it a barrel of beer to carry on its for their symbol. I think you can see that on here. I'll just bring up the camera and let you have a little look at the artwork on this one. Actually, I do quite like this one, but there you can see just down here the Pegasus. It's a lot smaller than I thought actually. But you can see there, UB, the symbol Untitled Breweries Group. As I mentioned to you, Maharaja in Sanskrit is a reference to the great leader or the great king, and that's why he's on the bottle cap there. The bottle cap, as I say, is it's quite simple, this one, but the label artwork on this is nice. And yeah, it should be a pretty interesting beer. It's well rated in terms of a kind of macro lager on Rate Beer, but it's rated 7 overall, but like 87 within the macro lager style, so I guess it means it will be a pretty good lager beer. Just to list the other beer brands that these guys do actually, because there are quite a few of them. So as I mentioned to you, Untitled Breweries also produce Kingfisher. They have Kamataka, Kalyani, London Pilsner, Marco Polo, Taj Mahal, Namaste, this one here, the Maharaja, and you also get the UB export beers as well. So they do quite a few different things. But anyway, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting. Hopefully I can review some of those other beers for you at some point fairly soon. Let's just get this guy out. In the meantime, there we are. Nice little smoky opening there. And we'll get it out and into the glass. I didn't actually try this one when I was at the Indian restaurant. I bought the bottle of it to take away, so this is the very first time that I'm actually trying this beer. And the guys at Namaste actually had a couple of different Indian beers that I'd never seen before. In Scotland, like I say, we get Cobra and we also get Kingfisher, but we don't get things like Maharaja, and there was like a Boss India beer or something like that I need to try too. And they also had Indian wine, which I didn't even know existed. So yeah, as you can see, this beer is poured a nice pale golden straw colour, exactly as you would expect from a sort of Pilsner lager beer. There's quite a bit of carbonation sticking to the side on this glass actually. Seems to be a common feature with this glass, to be honest. There's a half finger of a frothy white head, that's fading away to be a very thin foamy layer. You can see there is a degree of transparency to it. If I put my fingers behind it, you can see there. But yeah, it looks exactly as you would expect from a lager beer. So let's have a little quick look at the aroma for this one. So this one, to me, actually smells quite bready and quite pale malt. There's a lot of pale malt coming out of this one. You've got a little bit of the typical kind of corny thing going on that you get with the macro lagers. You can detect that in this one, but it's quite corny. A little bit of biscuity kind of malt character mixing with that breadiness. And you've got the typical sort of grassy hops coming off of this one. Not quite sure exactly what hops have been put in this. But yeah, as I say, it's bready. It's got a little bit of the kind of biscuity character, just a little bit of that biscuity syrup sweetness, some kind of corn syrup I guess in there as well. And you can pick up a little bit of the grassiness. There's maybe a hint of sort of earthy hop character in there as well. But as you always get with these kind of big, kind of mass-produced lager beers, there's not too much in the way of aroma. It's nowhere near as complex as some of the craft beers that you'll get, and some of the American and German and Belgian beers. Nowhere near as complex as that, but with the heat in India, really the whole point behind this beer is probably just to have something nice and cool to drink. So yeah, it smells exactly as you'd expect from a macro lager, but let's get stuck into this one. So this is the Maharaja Premium Indian Pilsner from United Breweries Group in Bangalore in India. Cheers, Slanje. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of what you'd expect. This one is very, very light, it's very kind of wet, and the whole point I can see, just from the first taste, you can see the whole point of this beer is to kind of be quite refreshing. And I guess, you know, many people know India is a pretty bloody hot country. It's a very, very hot place. So this is exactly what they're kind of after. You wouldn't expect anything less than that. And if you've tried Cobra and Kingfisher and things, you'll know kind of what the Indian beers are like. This one kind of follows in the same light, but I think this one is a little bit wetter and a little bit more it's a little bit more kind of drinkable, if you like, than Cobra and Kingfisher. But remember, those beers are brewed in different countries, and they're brewed under license, so they will taste a bit different from the real Indian deal. From what I'm told, this beer is actually produced in India and then imported into Japan. That was what the guys in the restaurant told me. But once your mouth adjusts to it, it does become, you do get a little bit more of the flavour out of it. That's always the case with beers, but you do get a little bit more flavour out of this one as your palate adjusts to it. You're getting the nice, in the middle of the palate, it's just kind of, your tongue is just kind of blanketed with that breadiness, just goes right across the middle of the palate. You've got some nice kind of biscuity, almost grainy character in there, a little bit of corn syrup, as I say, just kind of going in on top. But it's kind of exactly as you'd expect. And to be fair to it as well, you actually get quite a bit of hoppy bite out of this one. Around the front edges of the tongue, there's a good bit of floral and quite a bit of grassy hop coming out of this as well. It's quite an interesting one. It does build in flavour a little bit in comparison with the first taste. There's more and more grassy and slightly floral hops coming out of this beer. So yeah, it's coming out quite nicely actually. The flavour in this one just builds a little bit. It's nice and bready. The graininess from the corn, from the sort of biscuity elements of the beer is there, and you've also got a bit of that corn syrupy sweetness. As you go into the aftertaste, the beer actually becomes a little bit drier, and it's those grassy and floral characters around the edge of the tongue, and also some of the sweetness from the corn syrup. It is a very refreshing beer. That's exactly what they're going for, really. But yeah, no. In terms of a beer that you would want to drink on the beach or at some place hot to cool down a bit, it definitely hits the spot there. In terms of the macro lagers, it's not fair to obviously rate this beer along with the craft beers. But in terms of the macro lagers, I would say this one is one that has a bit more hoppy presence to it than a lot of the other ones you're going to come across. In that regard, it's pretty good, and it's very, very crisp. That's one of the things you would say about this beer. It's an ideal kind of hot day or beach beer, something like that. And the hoppiness in this, it would make it go very well with Indian food, obviously. A lot of the Indian beers, as you would expect, go well with kind of spicy foods and things like that. So that's something that you would want to drink this beer with. But yeah, it's nice. This one, in terms of the macro lagers, it's pretty good. It's got a bit more hoppy presence to it. In terms of the mouthfeel, I would say it's quite light-bodied, as you would expect. It's got a good bit of hoppy dryness, like I was saying as well. Maybe a little hint of oily character as well, but overall, the mouthfeel is very wet. There's a little bit of sweetness from the malt, a little bit of dryness just from the biscuity kind of grainy things going on there, but mainly around the edge of the tongue it's quite dry, and the floral kind of aromatic and grassy hops are really what's coming out. As I say, that builds as you go through the beer and drink more and more of it, but very, very nice macro beer, this one, I would say. Obviously you're not going to get as much flavour from this as you would from the craft beers, but in terms of being a hot day beer, it definitely would hit the spot. So yeah, if you get the chance, make sure you check out the Maharaja Premium Pilsner. Quite an interesting beer. As I say, it would go very well with spicy foods and things like that. As you'd expect, it's a very good kind of hot day beer. So yeah, I hope you guys in India have enjoyed my first Indian beer review that I've done. Hopefully there can be quite a few more of these. Always good to try beers from different countries and things like that. So yeah, until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. I'll catch you soon with more beer reviews. In the comments section below, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other Indian beers you would like to see me review, and let me know your thoughts on this one here, the Maharaja Premium Pilsner from United Breweries Group in Bangalore, India. Until the next time, Slanja just now, and I will catch you soon. Cheers.